Let me start with a question that's maybe a little bit provocative. Are you actually living your life, or are you living a role that were assigned to you? Long before we chose a career, a dream, or any direction in life, we were kind of handed an identity. Sometimes we chose it, sometimes it was imposed, sometimes it was a mix of both. Today, I want to break down how limiting identities form, how they quietly restrict your success as an adult, and how you can free yourself so that you can grow into who you're always capable of becoming. And if you felt that you are capable of more, but there is like this kind of invisible walls around you that really won't let you, or it feels kind of forbidden, that it's kind of holding you back and trapped, then your identity can be something that's important to look at and understand. Let's get into it. My name is Olof Nilsson. I'm a clinical psychologist, and on this channel I teach psychology behind inner work, personal development, and success. And today's topic is limiting identities. It's not just super interesting, it's also foundational, and anyone who is really interested in self-exploration will eventually reach this layer. Here is what most people underestimate. When we were kids, we were to some degree assigned identities, sometimes directly. You are the shy one, you are the smart one, you are the difficult one. And sometimes we like these roles. Being the smart one feels great until you realize you're not allowed to be foolish or messy or playful. Other times, identities were something that we indirectly took on through roles that we kind of had to take on to maybe keep the peace, to get attention, or to make adults around us feel comfortable. And because our brain is a meaning-making machine, we don't just hear these labels. To some degree, we also become them. So if you grew up being the responsible one, you learned to minimize your own needs. If you learned to be the peacekeeper, you learned to avoid conflict, even when conflict was necessary. If you were the quiet one, you learned to kind of disappear into the background, but maybe you were not really quiet at all. Maybe you just didn't feel supported enough to express yourself freely. And remember, as kids, we deeply love our caregivers and we depend on them, so we want to meet their expectations. And the more intense those expectations were, the more painful it felt to break them. So not breaking expectations becomes safer, but the cost is that parts of you have to shut down. Fast forward to adulthood, and you know that you are more, but you feel that you're not allowed to be that way. There's this voice that kind of whispers, that's not who you are, that's not for you. Fast forward to adulthood, and suddenly you know that you are more, but you feel that you're not allowed to be that way, like you are breaking an unwritten rule, like you're doing something wrong. This creates a sort of invisible fence around you, what you're allowed to do, feel, and to express. And here's the thing, you can set goals, you can want things, you can work hard, but if your identity says, this is not who I am, this is out of reach for me, I'm not allowed to have this or feel this, then your mind will sabotage you every time. Sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes in aggressive ways, but in one way or another. So now you feel a bit stuck. You're stuck because you're trying to grow beyond the role that you were trained to play, and your nervous system still thinks that stepping outside of that role is dangerous. So start by asking yourself, what roles do I automatically fall into? And do I actually like those roles? Roles aren't a problem. Feeling valued for your role can be a great source of pride. We're only talking about the roles that make you feel too small, too limiting, or simply not for you. Here are 3 questions I use with clients who feel blocked but can't explain it. Question 1. What did your family or early environment and caregivers need you to be? A mediator, a caretaker, a funny one, a ghost, someone that always disappeared into the walls. The less emotionally mature your caregivers were, the more they needed you to adapt to their needs and not the other way around. Question 2. What parts of yourself felt unsafe or unacceptable? Anger, ambition, confidence, being seen. Wherever you had to shrink, your identity was shaped. Invisible walls eventually became the room you weren't allowed to leave. Question 3. Which emotional reactions feel automatic in adulthood? Difficult saying no, apologizing too much, feeling guilty when you take up too much space, feeling small around confident people. Those reactions that happen instantaneously, where it feels like you have no other choice than kind of react and say the one thing. If you are new to self-work, write these down. Seeing them on paper is like turning on the light in a room that you have been living in for years. If you have been living with identities that never really have fit, this work is actually massive because it expands your identity, it expands your world, and this also opens up opportunities, it opens up doors, and it gives you greater inner freedom. It's a relaxation, being allowed to kind of be the person that you are and not having to live up to expectations or needs of other people. And that is at the core of what my content is about: success through authenticity, progress without self-sacrifice, using your real inner resources, your action personality, as an engine for growth, not layers or facades or expectations of others, but rather your own actual inner resources as the strong foundation to move forward, to get traction and get progress. It's more reliable for real results, and it's also a way to get real confidence, knowing that what you've done and what you're doing is based on who you actually are, and not that you're trying to live up to ideals, needs, and expectations of others. And also, if you were to kind of lose something that you have made progress in, then you have the inner resources to do it again, because it's based on what's real and something that no one can take away from you. Rounding off, you weren't born with your identity, you inherited it, you adopted it, maybe you embraced it for a while, maybe it was fun for a while, but anyways, now if it feels stuck, know that there is room to kind of stop playing an old role, and that roles can be rewritten. Thank you for spending the time with me. If you want more content like this, where we do deep dives into psychology, inner work, blending performance with inner work, inner growth, and to use that and leverage that for outer world success and progress, then make sure that you're subscribed. It's kind of all my videos here are about this.